where do you think social media has played a role in the growth of the coaching industry, essentially?
Oh, social media in life is a double-edged sword. I mean, because we've got stuff today where we'll talk about young people, and certainly people who are my age will say things like, "Oh, they've got no resilience," or "They've got this," or they can't, they give in too easy and stuff like that, and they're scared to do stuff. And I'm like, well, I'm not surprised, because when I was 15, I used to walk to school with Debbie Tyson, and I asked Debbie Tyson out, and she said no, and she said those words that no 15-year-old lad ever wants to hear, which is, "I like you, but just as a friend." And I'm like, well, I don't want to be your friend. That's why I've asked you out. So when we got into school, Jill Morgan and Sandra Kelly said to me, "Oh, you're still going to hang around with us, Dave, aren't you? Just because Debbie doesn't want to go out with you." And I said, "Yeah, of course." So about like 10 people knew. That was it. Well, it was a bit embarrassing, but about 10 people knew. Imagine that now.
Mm.
It'd be all over Snapchat,
Yeah.
TikTok, Instagram. School would know. Dave asked Debbie Tyson out, and she binned him off. So is there any wonder that we've got a group of young people, and especially those who've been through COVID as a young person as well, and trying to get through school and get exams, and because whether we like it or not, some of them will have had validation from their GCSE results or their A-level results. Now they haven't been able to take them effectively. We've got a group of young people and younger adults who do think twice about stuff, because if they make a mistake or put a foot wrong, everybody knows about it. Some of the stuff I did when I was a kid, no one knows about. No one still knows about. I like it that way. But now, everyone would know about it. So that's one side of social media. The other side, of course, is it's easier to manipulate people now, especially now with AI. But actually, the other side of it, it's amazing because you've got all of this connection at your fingertips. And you've got all of this knowledge at your fingertips. And the biggest challenge for people is the doubt that they have in their own mind about their ability to use this knowledge. And I think that's the bit where good, effective coaches come in. It's about having, for me, it's about having your own talented cheerleader. And by that, I mean, you don't just want a cheerleader, someone who goes, "Oh, well, you've got this. Steve, you can do this. You've got that." That's nice and it's okay. It's not always helpful, but it's okay. What you want is somebody who, I like the cricketing phrase of being on the front foot, where you've got someone who's on the front foot, loves you dearly, respects you, believes in you, but actually won't let you wriggle off the hook. If you want this thing, you've got to do stuff, and you've got to go to places where you might be uncomfortable, and you've got to go to places that are difficult. That's the whole point. And that's why people always need a coach, because going somewhere like that on your own is damn near impossible. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult, because you've got to really push yourself through. And if you don't know what you're pushing through or what you're pushing against, because you're trying to figure that out yourself, then that can be a bit difficult. And that's where a good coach comes in. They're not afraid to be on the front foot, because they know the person they're looking to support is worthy of every single bit of success and effort that they're willing to put in. And that's, I think, is the reason that, people come to people like me, because the knowledge is there. It's the belief. It might be a strategy that might not be there, but people just need somebody in their corner.
100%. I mean, that's a mic drop moment. That blows my mind. Amazing. That's like some of the best. Do you know what? That's actually some of like the most valuable advice, not just for social media, but for life in general, that I've probably heard on this podcast. That's amazing. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank
you. Do you know what? Working in social media, like I agree with you. It is a bit of a double-edged sword, I think, because on one side of it, it's can be quite toxic, but on the other side of it, can be so positive. And going back to what you said, I remember my dad, actually. My dad's 67 today, actually. And he said...
Your dad?
Yeah, 67, man. Can't believe it. But he said, him and my mum got together in 1979.
Yeah.
And he said he didn't have a telephone in the house. So we had to walk over 2 miles every time we wanted to see her, with no guarantee of her being at home. And when she was at home, it'd be a big-chested granddad, bless him, when he was alive. answering the door, quite intimidating.
When you get past him,
Yeah, yeah. But there was no, maybe to get like a pet, like 20p or something to put it in the phone box and give it a ring. Other than that, like he had to make that effort. Now people are going on dates and like looking at coaches and scouting people out and looking at people and analysing people way before they even have any communication with them. Like I've had people message me about my services and they've been like, oh yeah, I've been following your stuff for about 6 months. Never liked the post, never interacted with me, didn't even know they follow me. And then all of a sudden they've become like these amazing clients. And it's like, it just blows my mind. It just blows my mind that people are taking this stuff like without communicating for so long and then all of a sudden taking action.
They're taking in. And the interesting thing is there was a well-used quote by Jeff Bezos that says from a business perspective and a personal, to be fair, because we've all got a personal brand, is your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Yeah. But actually, this day and age, your brand is what people say about you before you're in the room, because everyone's so accessible. We can see everyone. There's lots of stuff we can see. And people forget that whether they're in work time or not in work time, they are always on brand. You're never not on brand. You're never not communicating. That's how that works. And it's understanding that as a concept. People can make a judgment on you. And that's another thing around the challenge, I think, for the younger generation, that is that they're so impacted by what they think other people will say about them. The older you get, the less bothered you are about that. But when you're younger, it's a thing, because what we forget is the human is a herd animal. And so there's safety in the herd. That's why we all hang around in groups. Then if we feel we're getting pushed out of a group, then we'll feel vulnerable. So even though we know we're not going to be walking across a plain and, pack of hyenas or a lion's not going to get us, we're still outside of the group. And that feeling is an inherent primitive feeling within us, which is why people will do behaviors which can sometimes be seen as needy, but it's the desire to be part of something. And interestingly enough, social media has had an impact on that, because you've probably seen the film, I think it's called The Social Experiment, where they talk about all the guys and the women who started Facebook and all of them. And one of the things that struck home to me on that was the guy that invented the like button. He's so upset with it because he basically invented it because he thought, wouldn't this be nice to say, I've liked your picture. You're my friend. You've done this post or you put this picture. I'll press this button to say I like that without having to type I like it. But now it's become a badge of validation, and people strive for it and they want the likes because it gives them validation. And you're just like, it's not the world that you want. You want to be validated. Everyone's got a balance of being validated internally and externally.
Yeah.
The more confident you are, the less need for external validation you have. But we've all got a bit of it. I have it when if I want to go and see someone, if I've done a presentation and there's somebody that I respect in the room who's good at that, I want a bit of validation from them. So what did you think of that? Was I all right? Did I do okay? I might have a feeling myself that I did okay, but to get this little bit of extra validation from someone is important. And I think that's the other thing to remember in around coaching. I'm no different from anybody else. I have things where I need to work on. I have times when I lack a bit of confidence. I have times when I maybe need a bit of validation. But the difference is I've invested in a toolbox of stuff that I can go and access. So when I do feel like that, I've got tools or models that I can use that will help me work through it. And I think that's the difference. And this is why I touched on guru before. These gurus will tell you they automatically feel this great thing and all of that jazz. Well, actually, sometimes you just have to work at it. And that's the difference, I think. Because I have people say to me, well, you must be, why are you always up? And I went, who said I'm always up? I have bad days. I definitely have bad days, but I've got tools that I access to speed through the process of me getting out of them. And I think that's
100%, mate. I mean, I've had the same thing with the business. People are saying to me these days, "Oh, you're doing really well with your business. Like, looks like you're smashing it." I say, "You haven't been there on the days where I could have jacked it in. I was
Yeah,
struggling, and
yeah,
I could. There's easier ways to make a living, right?
yeah,
I could have went and got a normal job, like I've
yeah,
been told a million times. But it's actually a skill that I've learned through being coached. Actually, that actually it, it's not a linear line like this. It's actually more of a wavy line or
yeah,
more of a spiky up and down line.
yeah.
But generally, it veers up.
Well, if you do, all it is, all success is the right number of steps done over a long enough period of time. That's success. Doing the right thing over a long enough period of time. So there's lots of like tricks around there. How do you know you're doing the right thing? How do you stay on track to do it over the right length of time? So there's stuff you got to do. So it's not, but it's about longevity. There is no such thing as an overnight success. Right?
Mm,
You know, the Beatles
yeah,
were put down as an overnight success. That's because the people who said that didn't know they'd been working in Hamburg for about 3 years, every
yeah,
day, in like 8 gigs a day. And
yeah,
such
yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, just because you've never
Oh,
heard
mate.
of anyone, it doesn't make them an overnight success.
I know. You're blowing my mind a bit here. You're actually blowing my mind.